Why did the 911 operator ask me if I was wearing yellow? 911 operators communicate with the police officers, so maybe they thought they saw you and were confirming they had the right person. Or maybe that was part of your episode. I'm not sure. Is it possible you misheard her or she misheard you and thought you were talking about the color of your clothes? Or maybe she forgot that you were alone or she wasn't fully paying attention. 3 possible reasons. 1. Someone saw you, or your mother called on you and wanted your welfare checked. 2. An officer saw you and wanted to make sure it was in fact you they were about to meet with. 3. They got an alarm call from the church's alarm company and had video footage of a person matching your description and wearing yellow. It could have been all 3 reasons, a combination of the 2, or just one. Usually, in my experience, it's reasons 1 and 3 that happens, and we do need your clothing description so our officers know it's you, the caller that they are about to speak with. I'm a 911 dispatcher. Your call is very common and happens daily at every dispatch center, so nothing to really worry about. She was just doing her job by asking you questions. Maybe to snap you back to reality by having you look at yourself. The question would have come as a surprise, which is a good way to snap anybody out of a psychotic episode. 911 dispatcher here. Either someone had called about someone nearby who was wearing yellow, so they were trying to determine if you were that person, or the officer was in the area and saw someone in yellow, so was wondering if that was you. If you weren't wearing yellow, then I think the simplest explanation is that when the police officer came looking for you, they saw someone who was wearing yellow and asked the operator if that was you. I imagine that there was a patrol nearby that the dispatcher was talking to while you were on the phone with her. The police officer probably saw somebody in yellow and asked the dispatcher if that was you. Then the dispatcher asked you if you were wearing yellow. My bet is that the police officer asked the person wearing yellow if they were the ones that called. Did the man in yellow have a monkey? Just curious. This is all speculation on my part. What was your demeanor on the phone call? Were you very anxious, panicking? She possibly could have been trying to calm and ground you with a question. Yellow is not a common color in clothes, so she could ask it knowing you likely weren't wearing yellow. She asks if you are wearing yellow. You find that odd and then say you are wearing blue. And all of a sudden you focused on this weird question and what you're wearing instead of continuing to panic. Same reasoning if she thought you were just a sad scared person all alone, trying to keep you occupied until an office gets there. And then maybe your logical response changed her thought about the situation and that you didn't need her to stay on the phone. Or maybe she was talking to someone else. Or you misheard her completely as part of your episode. Someone at the church, your mom, or a bystander probably called before you and gave them a description of what you were wearing. If you will forgive the silly question, but if you were in a schizophrenic episode, how do you know that she asked at all? Couldn't it have been your brain making it up? There are a lot of potential explanations here, but it's also an opportunity to teach y'all one of my favorite psychological tricks. If you are ever dealing with someone who is responding emotionally or illogically, ask them a random ass question just to reset their brain. Asking a weird out of context question forces the person to think on that, and once they get back to their original line of thought, they'll revisit it. Maybe realize they were being illogical. Maybe calm down a little, or maybe forget about it altogether. This works wonders on my kids. Someone called about a person acting strange and they were wearing yellow. They thought it was you because you probably sounded a little trouble. Have you seen the support dogs for PPL that hallucinate? The dogs ignore commands to greet hallucinations, which reassures the owner that people he sees aren't really there. https://u2.bpzw187 if 4r4c equals whbt0sa ha wavd f1c. Did she really ask that, or was it part of your episode? You thought your mother was trying to brainwash you, so it's not really a stretch that maybe the operator didn't say that at all. I know this one. Possibly I vaguely remember it. There's a Tumblr story of woman working in a nursing home when there's a commotion. One of the old folk that has dementia is packing up to leave and getting very aggressive about it. No one really knows how to make them stop without things turning into a fight. One thing that's notable about the old person's room is that all their belongings are yellow. Taking notice of this, and not really sure what else to do, the woman blurts out, "What's your favorite color?" The old person thinks for a moment before shuffling off. They don't remember what they were doing and the crisis is averted. There's similar stories like that in the thread where someone was having an episode manic, anxiety, etc. when someone interrupted it by asking a non sequitur. It's possible that the 911 operator was trying to do that for you and failed miserably. I would think a cop already spotted someone alone on a phone, or someone reported you out alone at night, or the dispatcher wanted to know how disconnected you were from reality. Basic questions tend to anger or frustrate people having a mental health crisis, and your reaction would be used to gauge if the responding officer needed backup or a mental health expert on location. Maybe the operator said, "Are you there alone?" In a foggy mind, and maybe some linguistic difference, you might have heard it as, "Are you wearing yellow?" Cop here. 2 most likely possibilities, in no particular order. 1. This was part of your episode and didn't happen. 2. An officer was nearby and saw someone and was confirming the description to make sure they approached the correct person. "Are you there alone?" could come across sounding like, "Are you wearing yellow?" over a phone line. As a family of first responders, and some work in dispatch, this type of question is most likely asked to identify the caller as the officer was approaching to make sure it was you. As the officer was in your area or vicinity, there may have been someone else wearing yellow, maybe outside the church, since you stated that you were alone, so they needed to clarify to make sure they responded to you and not someone else.